All right, so we know what happened. We know what's going on. We know that this fight is not happening. But just give me an idea, kind of what your emotion is right now. I mean, I know it's probably still processing a little bit, but what's the feelings right now?
They're not good feelings. Like, I'm disappointed in how Aspen Ladd went about the whole thing. I think that it is disrespectful of someone to decide that they're not going to make weight so early in the day at 9:15, and then to go and eat food and drink and be like, oh yeah, sorry. I mean, she called a doctor. Everyone that I know, all the women that I know, myself included, have made weight on their period and as part of their PMS or whatever else. Like, that's not an excuse. And I feel like that's disrespectful to all women to use that as an excuse at this point. So I'm disappointed with the way that she presented herself as a female in mixed martial arts, especially fighting at this high level. This is the second fight in the UFC that she has not been able to do because of, one of them was for sickness, and this one clearly was, she failed to make weight. And so she didn't live up to the contract, and that opened a door for me to look to renegotiate my contract with the UFC, because most people get an offer to renegotiate their contract before their last fight, and the UFC didn't say anything about that with me. And so I had a hunch that they were not going to try to keep me on. And for all, I don't like to use the word haters, but that's what they are. For all the freaking haters out there who are like, yeah, who's Leslie Smith? I'm 10. I'm top 10 in the world. And I've won the last 3 fights at bantamweight that I've had, and I fought Cyborg, so I'm not scared of anyone. Definitely not Aspen Ladd. I'm doing great with my fighting career. I'm top 10 in the world. Like, who can say that about themselves in any department, much less the UFC? Like, there's not that many of them. And so I looked to renegotiate my contract. I wanted to extend. First, I was like, okay, we'll extend it at 100 flat. 2 fights at 100 flat. And they were like, no. And then I put out another offer. I was like, okay, we'll keep the same terms then. But I'd like this fight. And they said no, still. And they elected to pay me my show as well as my win bonus, so that this will count as the last fight on my contract. And now I am not inside of a promotional contract with the UFC anymore, because this was the last fight on my contract. So I am disappointed in the entire situation, but I feel like I made the only decision that I could have made that would have made me feel like I am living up to the integrity that I'd like to think that I have. And that is that one of the major tenets of Project Spearhead is about fighters fighting and getting paid for it. And once the UFC offered me my show and my win bonus, I considered saying, I'll fight her anyway. Just give me the chance, because that's what we do. And dude, I really want to beat her up. I feel very confident that this would have been a great fight for me. I mean, she was so scared she couldn't even make weight. And she said she wants to fight. We can fight. Like, let's do it. We'll even schedule it ahead of time. We'll give you 12 weeks instead of the 11 weeks that you had this time. The 11 weeks that you had to prepare. And she's saying that she did everything she could to make the fight happen. Nobody ever told me about her $5,000 offer. But quite frankly, it wouldn't have happened anyway, because she opened the door and then it turned into more than her. It turned into a political situation, and it became an issue of negotiations between the UFC and the UFC showed their cards that they would rather do the unprecedented and pay me my win bonus as a result of me not taking a fight for a fight where my opponent had missed weight, that they would rather do that than extend my contract.
So I guess to be clear, I mean, so you find out she misses weight, you make weight, you find out she misses, and then you say, I'll take of course, I'll fight, I'll take, but I want a new deal. You had said before, this is the last fight of your deal, you know, and you weren't sure what comes next, so you just told them, like, hey, I'll definitely fight, but just give me a new deal. Let me walk out of here with a new contract, and I'm in. And they said, we're not doing that. Like, either take or leave the fight. That's basically what it boiled down to.
They didn't even say take it or leave the fight. They were like, we'll just pay you, and you can see yourself out.
Wow. So
the taking the fight was about me struggling with my desire to offer to take the fight. Like, it had me crying while I was going over the issues of what should I do, not because I'm PMSing, because that's not what makes me cry. It's stuff. Sorry, that was catty. So catty. Yeah, no, I mean, I was crying over that decision because I've got friends and family coming out here. This is the second time that would have been the second time for me to get to fight in Atlantic City, and it was an amazing experience the last time that I was here. I even would have been able to fight on the main card because another fight fell through because of the back injury. I don't know, how do you pronounce his name again?
Bibulatov.
Bibulatov. Because he hurt his back, and so we would have been on TV, which, you know, is great. But if I had done that, it would have been purely out of pride. And I even thought about saying no to their money, like, no, you can't buy me off. I'm gonna fight. But that would have been just about pride, and everything that I have been trying to stand for is that we need, as MMA fighters, to be driven by smart business decisions and not manipulated by pride.
You feel like this is, we talked about Project Spearhead at length earlier this week. I mean, do you feel like this is a situation that this could be helpful in addressing? I mean, it does seem like there's inconsistencies, confusion every single week. I mean, is this something that an association, a union, however it worked out, could help get consistency?
Yeah, definitely. Consistency is something that Project Spearhead is trying to get to by organizing the fighters to sign authorization cards, and then whether it would be through a union or through an association, consistent rules that fighters know will apply. Man, I always read this word, but unequivocally. Did I say it
unequivocally?
Right? Unequivocally. I read it, but I don't say it a lot. To have all those things apply consistently.
Yep.
You know the word I'm thinking of. Yeah, that would be a big deal.
What are you gonna do now? I mean, are you gonna hang around and go to the fights? Are you gonna try to get on the first flight home? Or are you packing up? I mean, what's the plan?
I mean, I've got tickets to the fights, and gosh, I'm kind of curious as to if I even get to go to the weigh-ins. Like if they're just all done, like, you're out of here, or I mean, I don't know. It's unfortunate because people say all the time that they would fight for free to be in the UFC, that they would do anything that it takes to be in the UFC. And so, I mean, I'm in the UFC, and like, I really liked being there, and I really liked fighting against top opponents in front of enthusiastic crowds. And so it sucks that that I don't get to do that. Like, I put in an 11-week training camp getting ready for this, and I cut my weight. I cut my calories, and I did my water and salt load, and then I got up at 5 o'clock this morning and I took my 3 baths and cocooned up and made weight, because that's what professionals do. And so it's a bummer to think that all this hard work isn't going to get to show itself in the octagon, but maybe this is going to start some more conversations, and it's going to show fighters some more options. And maybe it really does indicate the potency of a fighters association, that the UFC would go so far as to break with tradition and pay me my show and my win bonus unprecedented, for turning down a fight because someone didn't make weight just so they don't have to deal with me and Project Spearhead.
But to be clear, I mean, you could get a phone call 10 minutes from now with a new contract offer, right? I mean, they didn't say to you, and we're done and we never want to see you again, right? I mean, an offer could come if we're being optimistic. It could come, right? I mean, or did they say, we're done with you, be gone?
No, they didn't say that. And maybe, but, it's kind of rough to just hang out and put hopes on hopes. Like, I'm probably gonna reach out to Scott Coker and see what opportunities are available over there. And, yes, anything could happen. Anything could happen. Like, maybe I'll just stay in really good shape, and then May 12th, if nobody else can step up, when either Raquel or Amanda Nunes, if one of them falls out, then I'm like, hey, here I am. I'll even take a pregnancy test 10 days out, just to have all the bases covered. But who knows?